into the lesson, we will be looking at bearings. This is just the introduction. So in bearings, we use our cardinal points, and those 4 cardinal points are north, south, west, and east. Now, with bearings deals with direction and traveling and so on. So most of the persons who use bearings would be like ship captains and pilots and so on. Now let's just look at this diagram for a few minutes. So if you notice, at north I have 360 and 000. At east I have 090. At south I have 180, and at west I have 270. Now these are the degrees for each of the cardinal points. Now between north and east, we would usually get another cardinal point that would fall here, and this one we call northeast. Now if from north to east is 90, therefore the middle between north and east, this one is going to be 045 degrees. You will get one between east and south, and we call this one southeast. If between east and south is 180 degrees, then southeast is going to be 90 plus 45, which is going to give me 135 degrees. Between south and west, we'd have another one, and we call this one southwest. So if between south and west is 270 degrees, then southwest is going to be 180 plus 45, which is going to give me 225 degrees. And then between west and north would have another one that we call northwest. And if between west and north is 270 to 360, then northwest is 270 plus 45, and that's going to be 315 degrees. So these are the various degrees using the cardinal points, and you would find the use of these as we go further into bearings. Now, what are bearings, or what is a bearing? The position of an object relative to another object is called its bearings. So you see we have these various angles here which tells position. So the position of an object relative to another object is called its bearings. And some points to note when dealing with bearings is: 1, always measure in a clockwise direction. So you know how the clock works, right? We always go in this direction. We always start from north. That means we're starting from north and we're going in a clockwise direction, and it's always written using 3 digits. And if you notice, I didn't just write 90, 090, because bearings is written in 3 digits. Same here, 000. Well, these are 3-digit numbers, but when we're looking at these angles, they're all written using 3 digits. So we're looking at drawing bearings. So the question is, the bearing of a point A from a point B is 075 degrees. Draw the diagram to represent this bearing. Now what you should know is that it's going A from B. From B means that that's where we're starting. So what we do, we usually draw a little plus here to represent our cardinal points, and we always start from north, right? And we're going in a clockwise direction. So at this point, we know that this is 90 degrees. So therefore 075 degrees would be less than 90. So somewhere in here is our 075 degrees. And we're trying to find A from B. So this becomes point B. Here becomes point A. And the angle formed here, that is between, let me extend this line a little, that is between this north line and this bearing line is 075 degrees. So this is how you draw a bearing diagram. You don't need a protractor. You just make an average and then you make a sketch of the diagram. Let's look at another example. So the bearing of a point Q from a point P is 325 degrees. Draw the diagram to represent this bearing. Again, the first thing we start with is our points, and this is north. Now 325 degrees, you know that this is 090, this is 180, this is 270. So 325 degrees would be between 270 and 360. So somewhere here, we're going to draw our bearing line. Remember, we always start north, so we're coming around in a clockwise direction. So this is the bearing, 325 degrees, and it is going from a point P, so this is the point P, to a point Q. So this is how you draw. Remember, you have to look at the from the point. So it's moving from P to Q. And this is how you draw bearings to represent the question that was given. Now we're going to look at some basic calculation and finding bearings. Now you have the bearing of point A from B is 060 degrees. State the bearing of B from A. So the first thing we have to do is we have to draw this diagram. So let's set up. We draw our cardinal points. This is north. 060 falls between 0 and 90, so that means our bearing would be somewhere here going out. So this here is 060 degrees. And it's the bearing of the point A from the point B. So from B, we're going to get A. But they want you to state the bearing of B from A. That means now they want you to find what is the bearing from A to B. So at A, we have to draw up our cardinal points again. We label this side north. Remember, we always start from north and go in a clockwise direction. So they want to know what is that bearing. The distance from north to this line. Now, in one of our previous lessons, we looked at alternate angles, or what we call Z angles. So these two north lines are parallel to each other, and the bearing line becomes the transversal. So if you go from north going down, up, and then you come down, then the angle formed here and the angle formed here is the same thing. So if this is 060, then this is also 060 degrees. Knowing that this is this little piece here that's from the south line to the bearing line is 060, we can now find what is the entire bearing, right, of B from A. So we say B from A. So the first thing we know is that from north to this south line is 180 degrees. And we know that from this south line to the bearing line is 060. So to find the entire thing, it's going to be 180 degrees plus 060 degrees. And that's going to give me 240 degrees. Therefore, the bearing of B from A is 240 degrees. The second example, the bearing of point P from point Q is 320 degrees. State the bearing of Q from P. So the first thing we have to do again is to draw our bearing. So we start with our cardinal point. This is north. So we know that 320 degrees would fall between 270 and 360. So let's draw our bearing line somewhere there and put a point. So from north coming all the way around here would be 320 degrees, right? Now they want the and we're moving the bearing of the point P from the point Q. So from point Q, so from Q, P is 320 degrees. They want the bearing of Q from P. So from P now, they want you to find the bearing of this line. So if we draw our cardinal points there, this becomes north. They want to know what is the bearing from the north line to this bearing line here. Now, looking at it, we know that the entire rotation is 360 degrees, right? From here, go all the way back to north is 360. So if from here to this bearing line is 320, therefore this little piece is 40 degrees, isn't it so? Now we know that here, straight down, go up and then come down becomes our Z angle. So if this is 40, then this is also 40 degrees. We know that from north straight to the south line is 180 degrees. So since we know that this piece is 40, we could find what is the bearing. So the bearing of Q from P, and that would be the entire thing is 180 degrees, subtract this 40 degrees here, and that would give me 140 degrees. Therefore, the bearing of Q from P is 140 degrees. And this is how you find simple bearings. From here, you're going to go into the application of bearings where we're going to use our trig ratios to solve questions relating to bearings.